There we go.
Stupid technical difficulties.
Where's Randy? Randy's probably still asleep.
Did you even hire Randy for this stream?
I got to pay him? I thought he was our unpaid intern. Good morning.
Only when he does a good job does he get paid, which is why he hasn't made a dime in 5 years.
He hasn't made any money. That's right. Morning, y'all. What's up, T.O.? How are you?
Doing good. Sunday morning.
Amen.
We're going to ham church.
Ham church and coffee. And we got the coffee. Always have
That's
the
what
coffee.
you should call this show, Jim. You should call this ham church.
Ham church? I'm fine with that. I don't know how
The
some
collection
other people...
plate is over there.
Right. And now at this time, we're going to take up a love offering for brother Jim and brother T.O.
Hollywood, I love you, brother. You can be cream. I'll be sugar.
Oh my God, this has gone sideways already. So I decided to do a live stream today. T.O. was thinking about randomly doing one yesterday. Then he decided he was tired and he needed to clip his toenails, so he bailed on that.
To be fair, I was in a live stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I was thinking I might as well do Friday to round out the whole week because I know I'm doing Saturday and Sunday. And so I'm like, screw it. I'm tired. I'm not doing Friday. And then today I'm going to be in 3 because I'm live streaming now with Jim. Then Hayden's back. Oh my God, Hayden's back. Y'all missed Hayden. I missed Hayden.
And
then I'm live streaming with Jason because I'm going to show Jason how to do Winlink. So it's going to be a day.
Oh, tonight on Jason's show? Oh, I'll
Yeah.
have to watch that. I have never messed with Winlink. I mean, it's basically just packet stuff. I watched your video.
It's email over ham radio, yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, that's what got me into ham radio, believe it or not. And
Packet?
I hate to pimp other ham radio YouTube channels, except, my co-hosts, but I was watching Modern Rogue, and I've told this story. It's not much of a story. And they had Josh on. And the title of their video was 6 million people can push this button, but it's illegal for us to, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I kind of half-ass watch Modern Rogue every so often. And I watched it, and I was like, I got to get my ham license. So that is what got me to finally get my ham license. And Josh was doing Winlink, I think, with a Fang and a laptop. And so anyway. But yeah, I've never messed with Winlink, and I'd have to do it over HF because there's no 2-meter Winlink around here.
That was the hardest part for me was the Vero VRN76 is a 2-meter radio, and I need to do a demonstration of how to do packet Winlink over 2 meters. And I'm in southwestern Arizona, and there is no 2-meter Winlink at all, let alone packet. Because there's a couple of different modes you can use besides just packet. Is mode the right word for that?
Probably. Seems like.
Yeah, because there's packet, and then there's Vara, and I think there's like Pactor. I think all the modes work off of like they're frequency independent.
Right.
However, you have to find a server in your area.
Something that's listening on that frequency.
Got to talk to somebody. You can't just talk to yourself. So I talked to myself. That's how I solved that problem.
What was the thing, and this is going down a rabbit hole straight off the bat, but what was the thing called ALE, automatic
link exchange, which on 2 meters doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
But what my understanding of ALE is that my radio and your radio will start chattering with each other on the ALE frequency to determine if that band is open between us. And if not, they'll move to the next ALE frequency and check that. And then once they find it, they'll say, all right, QSY to this frequency, we're going to talk on this band, on this mode for this duration. And, it's like... You don't have to worry about it. Like if you and I, Jim, if you and I wanted to have a conversation over HF, it's somehow we have to figure out where we are and what bands are open between us, and ALE handles all of that.
So but you don't talk on the ALE frequency. It's just establishing the band. Okay. Yeah, automatic link establishment. That's it.
Yeah.
I looked at it one time, and the software is GeoCities level of elderly.
Unfortunately, we're not attracting youngsters to the hobby.
I'm like, oh my God, this was probably written in COBOL. It's so old.
And I have my understanding as to what I think those reasons are.
Well, hit me.
I think it's the government regulations that prevent, and God bless them, don't get me wrong, there's reasons for it, I understand it. But I think it's the regulations that prevent the high bandwidth and the encryption and the commercial use of the ham radio frequencies. But in so doing, that's like 90% of the reason why I would want to play with it as a youngster. I want to, I want to buy a pizza. I want to talk to my friend.
Right.
I want to have private communications where I send pictures back and forth that nobody else should see. And then you grow out of that kind of stuff because, you can do it everywhere else. But I mean, the data speed on ham radio is 9,600 BPS max.
Now,
if you're in line of sight. Well, I mean, now they've lifted it, but everybody's died off who wants to do the development on it, and we have the internet and cell phones, like
right.
Ubiquitous data in our pocket. So what's the jazz on? Why would you want to get into ham radio? I want to talk to strangers halfway around the world, all the way around the world.
That's an interesting take with the commercial thing, I think, because that could potentially non-commercial is killing ham radio, right, John? I got that. Sadly,
the ultimate collection of Winsock software.
Yeah. Oh my God. I remember when I found that website back in the year of our Lord, 1995.
They are still in business.
I think they branched out a little bit too. I don't know.
Yeah, they had to. Winsock's gone.
Winsock been gone. But I think a lot of, we always make this joke, FTH killing ham radio, yada, yada, yada. But has ham radio shot itself in the foot completely? Oh, that's awkward. Has ham radio shot itself in the foot completely because of the
would have been worse non-commercial camera?
Right, that's fine. I saw what you were doing. I appreciate it. They all appreciate that. I had to suffer. I took one for you guys, right?
I had an itch.
I took one for the team.
Anyway, back to what you were saying.
Well, I wonder if that's what's ultimately going to kill ham radio, is that there's no commercial drive to develop anything in the amateur radio space, with the exception of churning out radios that are mostly the same. And keep that in your heads, because we're gonna complain about that in a little while too. But you just said something that I think was an epiphany, Steve. It's like, that's what's killing ham radio right there. There is no commercial driver to do anything with it.
Yeah, as a teenager, this has everything that I need for my communications purposes. As a Vietnam era vet, thank you very much. There is not me, thank you. There wasn't cell phones. So when you drove into work and you drove home from work, you were on the repeater. If something happened, you used the auto patch to talk to your wife. There was a necessity on a daily basis to be a ham. And there just isn't today. There's no, when I come of age, I'm playing video games today, and I am connecting on the internet, and I'm going down the rabbit hole of crazy. Like you talk about, your daughter plays Roblox all the time.
Yeah.
There's no Roblox on ham radio.
Oh my God, watching slow scan TV is bad enough. I can't imagine trying to do Roblox over ham radio at
right. But ham radio has the ability to have the bandwidth to do that thing. I mean, all of your Wi-Fi is in 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz area. I don't know what the frame bandwidth is inside of 2.4 or 5, because
20 megs on
20 megs per channel.
I think that's right.
We're doing 25K on FM 2 meter.
Yeah,
or is it
25K on FM 2 meter. Yeah. 2.5 gigahertz has, depending on your country, 11 channels, and I think they're about 20 meg wide. Yeah. I'm trying to pull this out of my head.
And
I'm sure I'll be corrected if someone's Googling it. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of bandwidth. And we're trying to jam TV pictures in 3K.
And you want to talk about commercial. People used to use their 2 meter repeater to hit the auto patch to order a pizza. And because the payment didn't happen until the pizza arrived on the porch, it was completely legal.
It was legal.
Hams argued about it forever, but the remuneration didn't occur on the airwaves.
Right. Well, they treat. I've got a pilot's license, and when you fly private pilot, I've never flown commercial. You have to get a commercial ticket to make any money, to even get remunerated.
I can't even give you gas money.
Yeah. Right. If I want to pick up T.O. in my rented airplane, and we're going to fly to Dayton and land somewhere, I have to eat all the gas. He legally is not supposed to pay me for anything. unless I think we can split it. I think, and I'm a little fuzzy on that one, but if you don't have a commercial license, and it's kind of the same with ham radio. Now, that's not to say that guys probably don't split the gas on airplane
Yeah, we figure
flights.
it out some way. Like, we're going to go to Dayton, Jim. You take care of the transportation by private airplane, and I'll take care of the Airbnb for the weekend.
Right.
And I think I still come out ahead.
Yeah.
You're like $800 in, and I'm like 300.
And depending on who's with us, it would really be expensive because some people have small bladders and we'd have to stop 56 times, which is,
that's why he
always
doesn't
awkward.
Get in the plane. I don't think he'd get in the back seat anyway.
Give him a bucket.
Too much attitude to get in the back seat.
It's true. But I mean, it's the same kind of thing. It's the same kind of thing. I, as a private pilot, can't have you pay me even at the buddy rate to do anything. In ham radio, the way they do it is kind of the same thing. And we've talked about that with the Frequency Frenzy channel we're trying to do, because
we want to give away prizes.
We want to give away prizes, but we get perilously close to, but I don't think crossing the remuneration line.
But the only way to find out is to test it, unfortunately. And by test it, I mean like do it, get taken to court, and have the judge rule. And it's not even a regular court judge.
It's an administrative law judge.
It's an FCC judge. And if you don't understand the distinction, it's not that kind of show. But there is a distinction, unfortunately. Yeah. But the deal is that if you win the round of poker, you win a radio. So are you playing for money? Are you playing for prizes? Is it any different than a state QSO party where you win a certificate that you get to print yourself? Or the POTA plaque event where you win an actual plaque?
Right. And Marvin mentioned it. He thinks you can split the cost of rental and fuel. And I think that's right, Marvin. That's what I remember. I haven't flown in about 10 years.
Yeah, same.
But the pilot had to pay an equal share. It wasn't that y'all split the gas and I was just the driver. It was that I had to pay for some of the gas too. Or whatever cost, landing fees, so on and so forth. But I don't even know that we have that specific exemption in ham radio. We're not supposed to do it for financial remuneration. But I don't see, and where I come from with that is, the house has no take. You're not paying us to play. We're just giving away prizes.
You're not paying anything.
Yeah,
you're not paying anything either.
I mean, yeah, because we don't typically give away stuff we bought that stuff we've gotten for review or whatever. But I mean, I don't know. I think we're fine. I really do. But some of us are more risk averse than others. So
we'll just set up the ham radio Frequency Frenzy Super Chat Legal Defense Fund.
Right. Right. Our GoFundMe when we get taken up by the man. And we'll get Tony.
And if you call the FCC office, they're actually too busy to answer your question, so they'll just tell you no. And no is not the answer.
Right. And that's one of those things too, being in the military, it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. Right? If you ask the man and he says no, then you do it. I told you no. You disregarded, insubordination. If I don't ask, I'm sorry, I didn't know I couldn't do that. My bad, dog. Or you use the Shaggy defense, as we in the E4 Mafia called it. Wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
So, anyway. And Marvin, you're exactly right. What happens in the plane stays in the plane. It's not like the FAA is up there. But,
Go bail me fund. That's right, Hollywood.
Go bail me fund. Right. So I feel that now we're going to move on from that rant. I feel that we do need to mention the Doppler effect. Do you have more? Go.
I could rant all day. You know me.
Well, I meant that rant, that specific rant. But I just thought it was a really good point you made about the commercial thing, because there's no driver to do anything. And if you look at a lot of the ham radio software, it's phoned in. And I'm talking even on ICOM and Kenwood and Yaesu.
Yeah.
Most of the big
manufacturers is phoned in. So it kind of sets this precedent the whole way down the path. And
what the? Oh, okay. Shh. I have the D710 sitting here. It was auto power off. No, that's what that was.
Okay.
It was warning me. I'm going to shut off.
It's part of that, like that whole whatever the word is. I forget it, whatever. Anyway, part of that makes and part of that is also culture and history, makes the hams want to do everything cheap and free and not pay any money. And anytime anybody comes out with something, like if we ever make a fancy 3D printed dingus, the first question in the chat is, can I get the STL? It depends on whether I feel like it or not. But I mean, like half of that is doesn't hurt to ask. And the other half of that is, come on, man, I worked my butt off to make this thing. I spent 6 weeks refining this design,
Right.
It's just like, it's crazy. And you see, I love the fact that hams can build stuff out of nothing. That's part of the interest and the intrigue for me. But also, hams work their butts off and make, quality, decent software. And like, is it free?
Right. And you get that a lot. I'm a proponent of RT Systems. I love their software. And we've had her on that other show that you may have seen us on before. Mm-hmm. The lady.
Which is not this show.
Which is not this show. We're the smarter half of that show, for sure. Certainly better looking.
Better looking, too. Yeah, I was going to say.
I love RT Systems, but there's a commercial driver for them. They sell really solid, good CP software for a ton of radios. And the software reflects that. And ultimately, honestly, all CPS is all basically the same kind of thing, an Excel spreadsheet with some menus around it to, manipulate things. But it's a consistent interface. It's a good product. At $25 for programming software is not a bad deal at all. And depending on your radio, you may have to buy their cable. There's a lot of them you don't have to buy. So it just depends on that. But I see a lot of hams who are like, oh, that costs money. You've got a $2,000 radio sitting on your desk
with a $300, yeah,
with a $300 tuner, $500 or more worth of antenna and coax, and a $300 2-meter in your truck that you had professionally installed, and you're going to bitch about $25? Really?
Yeah.
Really? And you all know, every one of y'all knows somebody like that. And if you don't know someone like that,
then you are that.
It's you. It's you. So,
2 out of 3 hams are tightwads. Look to your left, look to your right. If it ain't both of them, then it's one of you.
It's you. It's got to be. And
See, I just that right on the fly there.
I'm just amazed at that whole thing. Sometimes with stuff. We will buy old stuff all day and not blink at paying $800 for a 50-year-old tube radio, but we'll bitch about $25 for a piece of software to make it easier to program our radio. And back to the phoning it in. So what I was saying was, and this is a prime example, and if Chuck was here, he'd be stroking out right now. Yaesu, when they released the FTM 500 at Dayton, maybe a little before Dayton, but I got mine at Dayton 2 years ago.
Broken radio.
Broken.
Missing features, missing parts.
Didn't have CPS software at all. None. The manufacturer had a radio that was released somewhere on or about Dayton, but there was no CPS software available from Yaesu, which to me was like, are you kidding me? And then when they did release it, it was fine. It's nothing special, but it works. But you look at all that stuff. That's the only real commercial driver in ham radio, short of the RT Systems example, is the radio manufacturers. And the Japanese radio manufacturers, and this isn't a Japan-China thing, that's just where the radios come from. The Japanese radio manufacturers aren't really innovating a whole lot either. The Chinese radio manufacturers, which are the DMR and the cheap 2-meter HTs and mobiles, they're not exactly doing anything either, but they're coming out with new models that have possibly a feature or two that are new.
Well, yeah, it's like I get a 2-meter HT in for review, and I'm like, there is nothing new about this.
Right.
The 50-year-old Yaesu VX3R does the same thing as this brand new radio that came out last week.
Exactly.
Now, the Vero, I like the Vero. It's the right price. It's the right amount of features. There's lots of things you can do to play with it. It's a lot of fun. This is the N76 HT. Like the Kenwood D75 is about $800, and the Vero is about $200.
200, yeah, less than that actually, yeah.
I think D-Star is the only difference.
Yeah, and
Marcus does, yeah.
Yes. And Jonathan is talking about the
SDR control.
SDR control that's available for ICOM radios for the Mac and iPad and iPhone, as well as the Flex software for Flex radio control. And that's only on the Mac. The Windows version, which I think Marcus was at least some part responsible for, is free, but Flex does not release a free version of Mac control software. You have to buy that separate. And Marcus Roskosh, I think I got his last name right. I don't remember his call sign, is the one who does that. And it's great software. And that is probably, and Jonathan, that was a great point. That's probably some of the most innovation I've seen in amateur radio. But you know why? Because there's a commercial driver behind it.
Yep.
Because Marcus sells that software. And it ain't exactly cheap, but but it's very good software and doesn't look like it was written when GeoCities was the place to put your web page with Blink on it. Oh, Jonathan's saying he's writing stuff for Yaesu and Elecraft too. Cool.
Nice.
But that's one guy, not those companies doing it, which leads us to radio innovation. This isn't really what we planned to talk about. I didn't really have a plan, but
we can talk for hours, Jim. You know that.
T.O. made a great point the other day on one of our shows that we were on, and we didn't explore it, and I didn't pay any attention to it. What is the newest radio from Yaesu? It sounds like
F10,
we're picking on Yaesu. We're not.
The 510, not the F10. The Yaesu FTM 510 ASP. I guess they're going to put the letters after it.
Yeah. So what makes the 510 ASP so special that it got letters now?
So that chip was something that Texas Instruments developed, I want to say late 90s, the DSP chip, digital signal processing. Mm-hmm. And most manufacturers...
It was in your Sound Blaster card for Windows, man.
And your modem. That's what made the Win modems, where you could have a modem with no chips on it, and it required Windows and a driver, and it was $3 for it because it was all done in software. Ham Radio has used that on a lot of radios over the past couple of decades. I mean, the FT891 has a technology of that ilk in it, and so did my FT100D, and so does the FT857. So it goes back a ways, and now the FT510 has signal processing on 2-meter FM, and it sounds really good. But I mean, wow, it's such an old technology to drop into a brand new radio today.
Right, and we have complained about this before. And I have been the loudest voice on this. And T.O.'s up there.
What's up, Zig?
Hey, Zig. The Japanese radio manufacturers and the Chinese radio manufacturers are so far behind the power curve on technology that it's kind of sad in a lot of ways.
It's the redheaded stepchild of their own product lines. I mean, ICOM will tell you all day long that, marine and land mobile is their bread and butter.
Right.
Yes, it's on like 3 new radios that they just released this year. Ed's trying to school us. Like we don't
Thank
know,
you, Ed.
Come on, Ed.
He's probably sitting there Googling. He just woke up. He's having his coffee.
I'm going to get them boys.
Another example of that, of
technology
that somebody should have thought of before it came out, and maybe there is examples and I don't know about it, which is entirely possible. When the 500 came out, front and rear speakers, right? I had a 400. The only speaker was in the control head, not the control head, the bass unit, which in my truck is under the back seat. So I had to run an external speaker so I could hear the damn thing. And they made it to be separated. The 400 is made to not be together.
I don't think you can connect it.
No, There's no mount or anything like that I'm aware of.
It's like your 710. You can't connect them physically to each other.
Right.
Mountally to each other, whatever word. Because if I say physically, you're going to argue about that stupid RJ45 cable.
They cannot be coupled. Mechanically coupled. Let's go with that.
Sure.
That makes it sound slightly dirty.
Now, your 710 has 2 speaker outputs on it, but it's VFO-A and VFO-B.
Yeah. I haven't actually read all the manual yet. There's a couple options on the speaker, so I'm...
Get that Lido mount and put it under your headrest, A channel,
right.
B channel.
Exactly right. So I can listen to APRS in one ear and VHF call in the other. But I mean, that was a big deal because the head had a speaker in it, which made the radio so much more useful. And the fact that it still has a speaker that you can listen to in the control piece in the back, or the main CPU, whatever the heck you want to call it, that makes it even better because now you have audio coming from behind and front, which offsets the smaller size of the speaker in the control head. I thought that was a great feature. As far as I know, that's one of the first radios I've ever seen that did that.
Well, even better than that, I think the speaker in the head is 6 watts and the speaker in the body is 3 watts or something like that. I think it's backwards in power. So smaller speaker, more power. Bigger speaker, less power.
Right. But I thought that was a cool feature without having to install an external speaker.
Yeah, we complained about USB-C in radios like hard, and USB-C really took off. And it's like we can do USB-C for power by plugging it into the battery only, and we can't do any communications or programming or sound out of the radio over USB-C. This is crazy. But here's the kicker. Bluetooth hasn't been in radios pervasively at all, and like we won the battle on USB-C with the Quanchang UVKX series,
right? Because
you can program and charge from USB-C by plugging into the front of the radio. Well, technically the side, but you know what I mean,
right?
But like Bluetooth, and Bluetooth has been around again since the early 2000s.
Yeah, 20 years at least. Yeah, at least.
Bluetooth has been around so long that Apple's already disabled it in the latest generation iPhone.
Those sons of guns.
That's a joke, but you know what I mean.
I got it.
Well, yeah. You know how hams like to explain your jokes back at you because they didn't actually get them.
I got that one because I've been an Apple guy forever.
Yeah.
Once they came to Verizon and I didn't have to get an AT&T phone, I all in on Apple because I hated Droid really bad. But I mean,
I think you do understand, actually. Oh, you don't understand what they were thinking. I thought you said you didn't understand what we were thinking. No, we're on the same page.
Yeah. Also, well, yes. And do I have an example here? This is not the best example. I had some other ones. I think I threw them away. You get your brand new radio, and they give you a little tiny cord.
Oh, wait. Let's zoom in on that. We got to showcase that. That's the latest feature ever.
Yeah.
And that's probably power only, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Well, I don't know. It's an AC cord, so maybe.
Even worse, it's an AC cord because they didn't do the PD trigger BS. So you can't plug a CC cord in. You have to use an AC cord.
You have to use an AC cord, which I don't believe will put as much power through it since it's not PD.
No, it won't.
It's like whatever the quick charge standard is, 5 watts, 10 watts, 20 watts. I don't remember what the QC standard is.
Meanwhile, I can get a cable like this one here where I've got C on one end and 5525 on the other end. Only because this is not made for ham radio. But this will take a USB-C power supply, turn it into 12 volts, 3 amps, and power your QRP radios.
I didn't know about that. I need some of those so I can quit making cables for crap. Because I end up I just used, 18 gauge or 16 gauge zip cord wire. Put power poles on one end and the dingus on the other kind of deal. That's useful.
Brent's got a point too. A lot of ham radios that do Bluetooth audio don't do Bluetooth audio to normal Bluetooth headsets.
Right. I
got a new Bluetooth headset to test out, and it was supposed to have all the noise canceling ASP, DSP type features, but it didn't connect to any ham radio that I have from any manufacturer, including Big Japan.
And there's something else with Bluetooth too, and I've had experience with this. I don't remember what my exact example was, but some older Bluetooth stuff will only connect to one device at a time. You can't have multiple things connected to it because it will only pair with one thing. And I suspect that,
mate for life.
Mate for life, right? They're monogamous.
I mean, there is a divorce procedure, so mate for life till death do us part doesn't mean what
until you go in and do the forget.
It never meant that.
But these are all great examples of why the amateur radio stuff is so far behind. And this goes to what T.O. was saying. They're making their nut on commercial, public safety radios, marine radios, business comms, and honestly, ham radio is probably a fairly small niche. I mean, I don't know how many hams there are worldwide. If you believe the modern Rogue video, 6 million. I think that number's probably high, but. And
What is
Hayden
that,
did a video
1/10 of the world population.
1%.
7 billion. Yeah, 1%. 7 billion, 7 million.
Yeah, less than 1% of the world's population.
That seems about right.
Hayden did a video on this a couple years ago, and he had like lots of demographics about the worldwide ham population in the U.S. and the U.K. and other countries and how it broke out. Japan is obviously up there. They're very big in ham radio, and you could probably Winlink on 2 meters all over Tokyo without even trying, but you can't in Montgomery, Alabama.
You can Winlink on 2 meters on your television, sat phone, cellular device that you got at a Coca-Cola vending machine.
Right.
And that's actually not a joke.
Yes, in Japan. But
the
not,
size of a quarter.
Right. But it's just, I don't know. And the display stuff. And I don't know, one of y'all in the chat needs to Google this. Does the 7760 we've boned on Yaesu a little bit, so let me pick on ICOM.
Yeah, we hate them all equally.
We do. Does the 7760 have an HDMI or display port out for the video?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Because I had a 7610, which is a great radio. I loved it. And it had a DVI adapter and did 800 by 600 for crying out loud. And I don't know how old the 7610 is. I don't think it's real old, but I mean, it was like a $3,000 radio and DVI connector at 800 by 600, which is like 1998 VGA. And I know the 7610 isn't that old. Jonathan says display port. That would be bleeding edge if they do. Wow.
Which is still outdated.
Well,
I don't see Don in here.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for him to chime in. Yeah, that 7760 is so new I can't find pictures of the rear.
Because as hams, we always like to see the pictures of the backside.
I got to go to the manual. Is the manual even online?
And I've got a link I wanted to share with you guys.
ICOM Japan didn't pay for their SSL certificate renewal.
Oh, my Lord. How many IT departments across the world does that get? I can't pick on ham radio for that one specifically.
Right.
So,
and it's all just extortion. There's no need to have that.
I will post this link in the chat, and I'll post it in the dingus below. But John, W3VL, shared this in the Discord in Toads, the general tab. And this is third-party programming control software for the Vero and the UV Pro and its clones.
The 7760 is at the bottom of ICOM's product lineup. The first radio they have for sale in their listing is 7851, then 7610, blah, 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 718, then 7760. Wow.
Okay.
Redheaded
so apparently their marketing isn't very good either. So this looks interesting, Steve. We'll have to play with this.
What's
Handy
that?
talkie
looking for that
commander.
picture still. Oh, yeah, that's on my list of things to play with. Yep.
So cool. Let me drop that in the chat for the people because I'm all about the people.
Dual speakers in the 7760. I mean, like, dual speakers is a feature of a ham radio. I realize that ham radio is mono, but really? You're going to put dual speakers in a radio it's a DVI-D connector. Damn it.
DVI.
It's 2025, and the thing's got dual speakers finally as a bragging feature. Because I'm thinking about, like audio files from the 80s or earlier, don't get me wrong, with the big stack, the Tower of Power. You've got your 6-disc CD changer and your surround sound receiver and your reverb unit, and I can't see that.
We have photographic evidence.
Nice.
Jonathan sent me a picture of the back of his 7760. DVI on their flagship radio.
Yeah, Brent, it's coming out soon. I gotta get time.
I just don't, part of it I get. Again, there's, in the radio world, there's hams, and there's public safety, and there's commercial, and we're not that big of a thing, but geez, I think per capita, we probably spend more money on radios than most public safety people do. I don't know.
Yeah, you get that 30-year-old radio you've been every person's been sweating on for the last 30 years.
Right. I don't know. But the features they pimp are just like, okay, we've had that for, like Steve said, ASP. Yaesu put it in their model name. They're so proud of it. Okay.
Well, I mean, like ESSB is an innovation that like 3 radios use.
Now, what is ESSB?
It's so new and so deep and so expensive that I can't even dig into it much, but it is enhanced single sideband, and it's a way to get even more rich audio sound out of that whining complainer on 80 meters.
Because I need to know about his kidneys.
There's a huge technical back end to it, and it is an innovation, and it is wonderful, but like, why isn't this in radios? Like, we should do a show one day on these are all of the features that hams want in ham radio. Because the features exist, they just don't exist in ham.
Right, Jason?
Ooh. Just do one. Just do composite out.
Do composite. Well, what about S-Video, for crying out loud? I mean, that's not terrible.
The Elecraft K4 has an HDMI port, and it puts out a 1080p signal. Whereas the 7760 has a DVI port, and it puts out a 480 signal.
And it doesn't even do 800 by 600?
It's
480?
It. I don't know the spec, but almost all radios that have that DVI port do 800 by 480. $1,000 for a radio, and it doesn't do as good as my $150 laptop.
Right. Or my 10-year-old Blu-ray player that I got at Kmart.
10. You got that late in the game. Isn't it older than 10 years?
I'm guessing it might be older than 10. I mean, I have a HD DVD player too that plugs into the Xbox, and my HD DVD collection that I'm going to have to buy all over again someday.
Yeah, full duplex HT. That technology was invented 30 years ago. Every HT on the market should have it. Every HT on the market should have Bluetooth programming and audio. Every HT should be USB-C programmable and chargeable.
What would the
I'd love to have video out and audio out?
What would the technical challenge be with full duplex on all HTs? I mean, I don't see why there is one. It's just a mixer thing. Put in another chip, do the interconnect, and you've got full duplex.
Well, so the reason, since we're going to have to retitle and re-thumbnail this show, the reason why
80 meters.
Ham radio rants. We'll just call this the rant hour. The reason why all your HTs, your 2-meter HTs, all have that same basic boring set of features is because inside there's a radio on a chip that some third-party company makes and sells, and then all of these radio makers just wrap the rest of the body around the radio to interface with that. Mm-hmm. And we do it too because I don't know how to make a chip, but I'm also not a radio. I like Baofeng UV5R. What have they sold? 3 billion of those by now?
Mm-hmm.
They have enough profit in it that they could actually make a better manual at this point.
Right. I would like them to print it in bigger letters. I mean, ink is cheap, I think, unless they're buying inkjet ink, which is not cheap.
Yeah.
A couple of good points here. So John mentioned, and several people are talking about DVI is cheap. Yes, DVI monitors are plentiful. I have 3 of them here that have no use. I cannot throw them away because I think I hit my mic. I cannot throw them away because I'm too cheap. They work fine. A DVI monitor is not worth stealing, people. I mean, it's like, why would you want one? And I don't know. And then the other comment here is, and I agree with you, Brent, it's like, hey, send all that crap to the ham guys. They'll buy it. But I think a point here, and Jonathan kind of got to where I was going to go with this. At the end of the day, too, do I need a 1080p or 2K or 4K display for my radio waterfall? Probably not. Am I going to use it all the time? Maybe. I'd like to have the option, though. And yes, you can convert them. Buy the damn converter off of Amazon. It works with Yaesus and it works with ICOMs just fine,
but
regardless of what somebody has said.
Hold on. There's a caveat there because the Yaesu radios. This is what really gets me about the Yaesu radios. When you open up the radio and you look at the chip and you go to the data sheet, the chip is an HDMI chip. They just put a DVI connector on it. So there's a thing where HDMI provides power. One of the 9 billion pins inside of the HDMI connector is power. There's also Ethernet and data and video signals inside of an HDMI connector, which is just crazy. But one of those is power. So if you get the wrong adapter, you will transmit power into the radio and fry the chip because they didn't put the diode in there. Or even a 0-watt resistor, which was just stupid. They put a zero ohm resistor inside of the FT891 so that if you shorted out the antenna port in just the exact right way, because some antennas are shorts, if you shorted it out in just the exact right way, you blew the 0-ohm resistor and didn't destroy the radio, but it was a non-user serviceable part. I mean, you could if you knew what you were doing, but it wasn't like a fuse. Yeah. For a radio with a video out, I want to put the screen behind me, like over here.
Yep.
And I want to have the big waterfall so that when I'm contesting or doing something, people can come up and go, "Oh, look at that. What are you doing?" And maybe they can pick up the headset and listen, or they can pick up, hear it on a speaker or something. Like, it's not just for me. And as hams get older, it will be for me because I can't see a little 8-inch screen. I need the 72-inch screen on the wall. But also, HDMI has been out for 20 years. Come on, man.
Yeah. And the argument I've heard spouted by these companies, the Japanese radio companies, have been that there's a licensing issue. Raspberry Pi's got an HDMI on it.
Do you know why? Here's the trick that the Raspberry Pi Foundation figured out. You don't say it's HDMI, you say it's HDMI compatible. And adding that word compatible to the end, you don't have to pay the license fee.
Huh. Okay.
Because you're not saying it's HDMI. It's not HDMI. It's HDMI compatible.
Which means potentially in 30 years it may not work with the HDMI cable you bought at Walmart.
Yeah,
something like
my
that.
30-year-old radio that I'm, by that point, whatever. But also the licensing fee is like $1 per board. It's not enough to worry about on a $1,000 radio.
Right. I mean, that's not even 1% of the cost. It's 0.1% of the cost on a $1,000 radio. Yeah. And Brent, this is funny. Yep. When that day comes, I'll be long gone. I'll be long gone.
How many DVIs did we see at Hamcation?
I mean, I don't know. I don't even see them anymore. I have a DVI filter in my head.
I don't think we saw any.
I wouldn't have noticed.
I have never owned a DVI only monitor. I've never owned a monitor with a DVI port on it. I've had the video card where it's got the VGA and the DVI port, and I've used a DVI to HDMI or DVI to VGA adapter.
Right.
But I've never once in my entire life used a DVI only screen.
I have. I'm pretty sure. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think
you've got 4 in the shed.
I got more than one. I need to throw them away. I can't. They work fine. And it's like if I got to set up a computer somewhere, I got an emergency monitor to throw on it. Hell, I got an Apple monitor that came with an old computer I bought from a buddy of mine, a G5 Mac Pro, and the monitor works great. It's
okay. So here's the mission for Dayton: find and procure a $25 DVI monitor.
Oh,
I set the price on purpose. I set the price on purpose because I'm sitting here staring at a 15-inch HDMI USB-C display that I paid $100 for, and Chuck got for $25 at Hamcation.
Yep. We used our Jedi powers on the old man. He's like, "Is that a good price?" I'm like, "Mine was $150. Yeah, that's a good price. I mean, you stealing it from an old lady, Chuck, whatever. That's your conscience, not mine, but that's a good price. Definitely." I've never had a problem breaking HDMI connectors, Michael. I don't know. I mean, I suppose, I don't know.
Plug it in once and then you don't bang it against the wall?
Yeah. I
mean, I agree. It is more robust, but a difference that makes no difference is no difference, to quote Daniel Greystone. Speaking, we have that first movie quote.
First movie quote? I don't know which one that is.
It's from Caprica. It's actually a TV series, but it's still.
Oh, I never watched that. I thought
it's good for canon purposes, and it's only one season.
Is that that's pre BSG, right? That's a prequel?
Yeah, that's how they made the original Cylons, where the whole Cylon technology came from. Daniel Greystone was the one that invented it.
I've got to watch that then. I never watched that. I thought it felt derivative right after BSG came out, and I'm like, okay.
Well, that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to, technically there should be more Terminator movies and TV series and gear, but they're just isn't.
I did like PSG, the original when it came out.
Oh yeah.
And the reboot. Reboot got a little weird, but I think the ending was spot on. Let's see. What else? What is floating in the comments? We're still complaining because that's what we do, and I'm not complaining about you people.
Y'all are
E-ink. Oh yeah, Sean, that would be cool. Full duplex USB-C. E-ink is low on power too, right? Because it barely uses any juice.
That's a fantastic thought, because it also has a very slow refresh rate, and stuff doesn't change fast enough. The worst you'd ever have to do is scan, and instead of having it say the frequency it's scanning as it's going by at 1 billion miles an hour. Oh no, ham radios don't operate that fast.
It's like, what radio are you talking about?
Yeah, I was being sarcastic. You could just have it say scanning, and then it would stop on the frequency in question.
Oh yeah, with like a pulsating dot or something. Yeah, I like that.
Well, see, so 4.5 is right. Reboot was way better than the 80s version. It was better.
Fact.
But see, it wasn't done by hams, because the 80s version would have been a 2-meter HT FM only, and the reboot would have been a 2-meter HT FM only. See what I did there?
I see what you did. And if you're talking about the abomination that was Galactica 1980, I put it in the same category as Highlander 2. It's best just to forget about that whole thing.
Right.
Yeah. Like Star Trek 5, that guy is not God. Yeah, that was just
I love that every cast member in Galactica 1980 died except for the oldest cast member of the original series. Lorne Greene was still in Galactica 1980. He was the only one. He was the oldest member of the original.
You mean died in the canon, not...
Yeah. Like Apollo and Starbuck didn't exist in Galactica 1980.
Did they ever mansplain that? I don't remember.
Probably, but I'm not going back to watch it again to find out.
Right. Athena was in it. She was still in it.
She was?
I'm almost positive. Because she was my
there was
second
some vast
favorite
repository
person.
of knowledge that was searchable.
She was my second favorite. Once they killed off Serena on the original series, I was like, okay, my reason for watching this is over. Athena's okay.
So Doc's asking if they can overlay e-ink over OLED. They probably can, but it's completely unnecessary. The only time you would need it, and I'm not arguing with you. You know me. I argue with everybody. It's not you specifically. The only reason why you would need e-ink, why you would not need e-ink in an HT, is if you had an HT with a waterfall.
Yeah.
And they exist. I've got one.
Yeah. And Brent, there are rig experts with e-ink.
That are e-ink, yep.
The pros, the sticks.
The stick models, yep.
The stick models have e-ink display, and it is awesome to read them.
I just can't afford it.
Okay.
I mean, I can, but I
take your Nano VNA outside, pop, and
I do all the time. The problem with the Nano VNA is it doesn't work on camera, because you're looking at a reflective mirror screen in a camera. All you can see is the camera itself. Like this is what you see. Look at that. Look at that SWR sweep.
Right. So, anyway, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things they could do. Again, I think it all goes back to the commercial side of it, though. Not just the software that is and the evolution of amateur radio from our side, but from the commercial side, there's a limited amount of drivers for them too, because they're only going to sell so many radios. I mean, it's relatively speaking, it's a small market, right? If you look at,
there's no new feature updates, of course it's a small market.
That too. Yeah.
Why would I ever upgrade my Yaesu FT8800?
Right. I mean, I have a 2800 that is a wonderful 2-meter rig, and I don't know how old that thing is, and it works freaking great. This one, I bought it. The
710.
The 710, I bought at Hamcation. This is like a 2009, I think we decided, late Audi's model radio. And other than it doesn't have a GPS built in it, it does everything else that a brand new 2-meter 440 radio does. And I don't really care if it has GPS in it.
The FT5D has a waterfall built into it. And it is cheaper than the ID52. I want to say the 52 is 600 and the 5D you can get for around 300.
350, 300, 350, somewhere in there.
And
yeah.
if you get a good deal, you can get it for like 270, 280. It's just, you got to, and that's new price, by the way. You just got to hunt and wait and be patient. I got mine at Dayton a couple of years ago for a good deal.
What, they were like 300 at Dayton.
They were less than 300. I can't tell you the price because you'll just cry. The 500, the 5D brand new was cheaper than a 1D in the Boneyard. And I couldn't get the guy to come off the price. He's like, I know, but somebody will buy it. I think he went home with it because nobody did.
Yeah, Jody, I think that was around the Dayton price. Was
Stop the press.
270s. It's been off the wall for 2 or 3 weeks, Doc. I took it down because you people mocked me, and people would randomly call me during the show. And I got to answer a ringing phone. It just makes me cray-cray to not answer the dang thing. I just don't use it.
Programming from when you were 7.
Yeah, that's right. I wanted to answer the phone when I was 7.
1976?
No, that would have been the year of our Lord, 1960. The year Woodstock was a thing.
Oh my God, you're that old.
I was born in 62. When I was born, Kennedy was still president, alive.
And alive, yeah. Kennedy's still my president.
I mean, I don't know. Brent, thanks for coming, man. I don't know. I forgot what I was going to say now. Because the Ham Shack hotline completely derailed everything.
It might ring.
Yeah, I just never use it. And I'll make you a deal on a Cisco 525G IP phone if any of y'all are interested.
Is that the one with the color Wi-Fi?
Yep. Color, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth.
That's the one to get if you're going to do it.
Yep. Holla at me in Discord and or email, whichever.
But there is technology to do it.
Oh, see, that would be interesting because it's actually got a decent waterfall on it.
I think it's called Quantum SDR, does it?
Okay. Yeah, Doc, I was thinking about that. I got the big TV, but the camera angles just don't work out. I'd have to drop that TV down, and then it's even more awkward to watch than it is.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have mine on because I rewired my trailer yesterday. I say trailer because it makes me seem like a slumlord. But I've got the battery up there and that solar charge controller, the black box. The red battery, the red box is the battery, the black box is the charge controller, and then those go to, you can see the red and black wire behind me, and then go off the wall here. That goes to 400 watts of solar on the roof of the RV.
So what is that battery powering? Everything in the shack there?
Nothing at all.
Oh.
It's just being charged by the light of the sun.
That's just your charge station.
It was like 8 hours of work yesterday, drilling holes and running cable, and I'm still sore. The next thing I need to do is run I need an AB switch so I can charge stuff on the display bench there for video stuff for you guys for the future. And then I need to run a wire down through the floor because the trailer tongue is on the other side of this wall here. And that'll let me charge up the trailer. And then I've got 2 batteries coming in, so I'm going to wire them up in parallel on the tongue. So I'll have 200 amp hours of battery power instead of 100 amp hours of battery power. So the 200 amp hours of battery power plus the 400 watts of solar on the roof, I should never need to add additional power or plug in without running the massive drain of like the coffee maker or the AC air conditioner,
right,
or the microwave.
Microwave, yeah. I was last week years old when I discovered that the coffee pot and the air fryer should not be run simultaneously
on the same circuit. Yeah,
I didn't realize they were on the same circuit either. Apparently, it's the first time we've ever run the air fryer and the coffee maker at the same time. A couple weeks ago.
This RV has 2 circuits. Most of the left side of the trailer and the uncovered left side of the trailer. So it's like very frequent that we blow stuff out because it's actually cheaper to heat with electric heaters than it is to run the propane furnace because of the way the math works out at the RV park that we're at. And that's actually true for most RV parks because a lot of RV parks you go to, you don't pay for electricity. It's included in the stay.
What is your rough nightly fee at an RV park? Is it cheaper than a motel room?
Oh yes, way cheaper.
Okay.
This one here is about $20 a night.
Oh hell!
And it's a nice place.
And you get to sleep in a place that does not have any leftovers from the previous occupant in it.
Own bed. Yes.
Right. With no dust mites or bed bugs or.
Now I've seen them,
Hooker
75,
residue.
$80 a night, and there are some that are much more expensive than that, but there's just no reason to actually stay there. Like, why am I paying so much more for this little tiny plot of dirt than the plot of dirt down the street that has the exact same features?
So no super premium features for that kind of fee?
Nothing that you don't get anywhere else.
Okay.
A difference that makes no difference is no difference. Like you can pay $1,000 a night to stay in a fancy hotel, but all you're doing is sleeping there. So why not stay at the Super 8 for $60 a night?
Well, depends on where the neighborhood.
Bring a black light to both of them.
Right? Yeah, it's probably a good point, or not, because then you'll know. Yeah. So I think we're gonna go ahead.
In a hotel, I try to spend only 8 hours in the hotel.
And that is a true statement. When we shared a cabin at Huntsville 3 years ago, the only time we were ever in the cabin was when we were sleeping.
It's too much to do.
Separate beds.
Like in the same room.
But in the same room. It was only slightly awkward, but
yeah. I didn't go to Huntsville Hamfest to spend the weekend in a cabin with Jim. I went to Huntsville Hamfest to go to Hamfest.
Do ham stuff. That's right. That's right. And now he brings his wife and spends all his time with her.
He's not jealous.
I'm fine, Steve. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, the 4-letter word that begins with F that is the worst thing you can hear in your marriage?
That's right. It's fine.
Because you ain't hearing the other F word at all.
That's right. Forget about that F word. That ain't happening. Slam shut tight. So I think I'm going to do this on, I think maybe weekly. I'm going to probably schedule one for next week. I don't know that we're going to specifically have a topic, and it's not going to always be two old men ranting about the...
Oh, no, I think it should be.
I don't know. I mean, I think we had a good stream today. I hope you guys
never ran out of material, yeah.
We never ran out of material, and I hope everybody in the chat...
Stay safe, Ziggy.
...got something out of it. And we'll certainly talk about whatever you guys want to talk about in the chat, too, but...
Oh, that's it. So we'll do like the first 5-minute opening of the show. Please post your things you'd want us to rant about in the chat, and then we'll rant about them for the next
we'll rant about
55 minutes. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, and before we close, there's a couple things I did want to mention that Steve and I talked about before the show, and then both of us forgot because we're old men.
Got to pay them bills.
We ranted. Number one, if you are interested in delicious coffee, go to hamradios.coffee, and I'm putting it on the Chiron below right now. We have 3 blends.
Not sponsored by, not affiliated with.
We are not Coffee and Ham Radios. We're just helping
2 wild and crazy guys.
Our other job. So we have 3 blends, a breakfast blend, which is called Morning Net. We have Private Reserve, which is a medium roast, regular coffee. And then we have QRO, which is a dark, bold roast. And I have had the Private Reserve. I love Private Reserve, and so does my wife, actually. So they're all very good coffees. And at coffeeandhamradios.com, we are sold out of chokes. Thank you all who bought one yesterday, because we sold out of those before the show was over. We have more being manufactured now, but we will have more coming up. So chokes, CMC chokes for your antenna feed line, and at the antenna, and at the radio is optimal, at least at the antenna. We have 4 different antennas: the Aries random wire 9-to-1. We have the Apollo end-fed half wave. We have the Mercury linked dipole. We have my favorite antenna of all time out of what we sell, the Poseidon vertical antenna, which is, in my opinion, the POTA king, because it is stupid easy to deploy and stupid easy to take down and pack up. It takes less than 5 minutes either way, and works great. And I have made worldwide contacts on it.
I thought about it this morning. An end-fed half wave on 20 meters is still longer than the Poseidon on 20 meters.
Yes.
And I will happily all day long trade a tuner for setup hassles.
That is exactly my logic on it too. Yeah. It's a lot more messing around with stuff to set up 62 feet of wire and get it where everything's going to work and find the appropriate structure, right, to hang 62 foot wire on, versus whipping out your pole, putting the wire on it, leaning in a tree or tying it off, whichever, and getting on the air and doing your thing. So I think it's just a no-brainer. We also have about 6 mugs left. If you're interested in a coffee mug, Hollywood, appreciate it, buddy. And
Jimmy, your link in
Coffee.
the description is wrong.
No, it's not.
In the description.
Oh, in the description? Did I miss an S? I'll fix that.
The newer Elmer is telling you your description is wrong. I like that call sign. That's pretty cool.
Oh,
It's almost as good as K-Toads.
I see what he did there. Very good. It's coffeeandhamradios.com and hamradios.com.
For all the time you spent correcting and mansplaining the URL, Jim.
Yeah. Right. Well, that was because... Never mind. I'm not going to go there. Anyway. So I also wanted to talk about 3D printer stuff because we've gotten a lot of questions. I've gotten a lot of questions about 3D printer stuff, and we'll probably chat about that. And Steve is...
We got to have the live action cam 3D printer.
Oh, I got that. I was ready to set up a print and start running this morning.
Get out that A3 Mini. Let's design something and print it. You can do the whole like Julia Child thing where you've got like one that's already printing the lasagna, and then you've got the lasagna that you're making. Then you have the list of lasagna ingredients.
Let's see. I think I have... I might as well sizzle this for next week.
Right on the nose. Right on the nose.
Let me. The printer is actually not.
Length is wrong.
What now?
I was talking with the chat.
Okay.
So Jody's saying that his tuner will always find something to optimize in his antenna system on a resonant antenna. And Ziggy comes back and says it's optimizing the feed line, which is 100% correct. If your 50 ohm feed line isn't the right multiple of length for the band in question, you're out of tune. Even though it's 50 ohms, you're at that point in the wave where you're presenting 27.5 ohms at 40 meters at 7,200.
And as the Castler has said more than once, everything affects everything. The feed line, the antenna length, the way the antenna is deployed, especially with something like a random wire or an end-fed. All of that stuff matters.
You could never get newer across over the air if you were trying to it's just newer. Like, what is newer?
Right.
So I switched the phonetics up. Wireless electric radio. Anyway, I interrupted you. Go on.
No, I was just. Let's see. That's what I was going to share real quick. There she is.
Hathor.
Standing by. Yeah, I named all my printers. They're currently on the Egyptian god theme. I have Hathor, Isis, Anubis, and Osiris. You got to name them something. And see, I have smart plugs on all of them. So it's something I'm not going to accidentally say any other time other than the name of the printer. But we can...
It'd be good to do that. Design something and print it. We could design a nice winder. And then when we're done, because it was community designed, we could actually give the STL away.
We can. And if we design stuff, it is a challenge for me. So I'm not very good at the design stuff.
It's one of those things where don't let perfect be the enemy of good. At first, your winder is an X, and then your winder is a 1/4 inch thick X, and then it's a 1/4 inch thick X with rounded corners, and then it's a 1/4 inch thick X with rounded crotches and rounded corners. That's,
Right. Can we say crotch on YouTube? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're not talking about that crotch. We're talking about that crotch.
Right. Would that be a gusset, a gullet?
Well, no, a gusset is something you add to the crotch so you don't blow it out. We're still talking about structural mechanics, by the way.
Right, by the way. John, that is a Cheedy +4. I guess that's how everybody says it. Keedy, Queedy, there's no U, so
because it's
Cheedy.
QIDI?
QIDI.
Yeah.
Cheedy +4, and it is freaking awesome. It is, I won't say it's a bamboo killer because that's what the marketing stuff says, but it's a very, very, very good printer. It's as fast as a Bamboo X1 Carbon. It's as big as a Bamboo. It's bigger than a Bamboo X1 Carbon.
Bamboo's doing a good job of killing themselves right now. I was about
got there
25% of the way to purchasing a Bamboo printer, and then the madness happened.
Well, the funny thing about that, of course, all the 3D printer channels are making a big deal about that. And it kind of is, but it's kind of not. For the average guy who just 3D prints stuff and is not running a print farm and is fine with using their slicer software, which is excellent slicer software, it's fine. It's the same thing that you already did because you downloaded Bamboo Studio when you got your Bamboo. And the first time you ran it, and set up your printer, it said, I've got to download the network connection piece. And that happened. It popped up. You said, okay. It installed some middleware that's part of how it connects to the printer. And you moved on. And this is different. This is it's a more visible middleware piece. But Bamboo has shot themselves in the foot a little bit because a lot of people, moi included, like to use Orca Slicer. That way I'm using the same slicer that can talk to all my printers over the network, and I don't have to change programs. I'm not running Creality Print for my K1. I'm not running Bamboo Studio for my A1 Mini, and I'm not running Orca Slicer or Cheedy Studio. Well, I am running Cheedy Studio in this one, but
see you, Marvin.
You know, so you can use one slicer to rule them all. And Bamboo just really didn't tell anybody. And then they kind of threw Orca Slicer under the bus and said, we're working with Orca Slicer. And Orca Slicer was like, what?
So I wouldn't mind if it was like, you know, $25 in shipping to get the printer to you, free printer, and then, I don't know, N dollars a month to have this, you know, automated assistant with some AI in, like, take this shape and extrude it and round the corners. Done. You know, like, I could see that, you know, printer as a service type feature. And then they can say, well, you need the following, what's the name of the filament? You need the following filament for this print. Would you like it delivered Monday, the 17th? Yeah, I would, you know. Like,
well, I think
printer as a service is fine for that kind of software.
Depending on how they market it, right?
Well, I knew what I got into. I wasn't trying to buy this off-grid, self-sufficient, self-contained 3D printer that the A1 Mini was originally sold as, and then out from underneath of me, they turned it into a printer as a service. That's why I don't like it. But that's mental stuff.
Well, and I can't say that that's not going to be a thing. Bamboo is kind of back. No, it's a thing for other people. They're worried now that Bamboo is going to go the route of HP, where you can only use Bamboo filament.
Yep.
And I hate inkjets anyway, no matter who makes them. But they're thinking you're going to have to pay to use your printer as a service. You're going to only be able to use Bamboo filaments. And then there was even some talk, and I don't know if this is the Black Helicopter crowd or not, that Bamboo is going to decide what you're printing and decide if you can print it. Oh, you're printing Freedom Dispenser parts. We do not approve of Freedom Dispenser parts, and we will not allow you to print those. So that's some of the concerns. And honestly, if it's a concern for you now, it should have been a concern before, because unless you go out of your way, the Bamboo is kind of a cloud-oriented thing. It's not usually direct unless you set it to LAN mode. I have zero use for the cloud and the 3D printer, but it doesn't bother me at all. And then you have the ultimate control over this thing. Don't connect some bitch to your network.
Right.
And air gap your print file over, like with a Creality printer from 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's more of a thing for the print farm people because they're controlling multiple printers all at one time and they need integration. And I don't know how that's going to work because I don't run a print farm. I don't know. I think for the average dude that might want to get into 3D printing, I still say an A1 Mini is an excellent starting place at an excellent price to get started. I mean, in a comparison, 3 or 4 years ago, and you probably remember this, Steve, Gigaparts was selling Ender 3 V2s for $199. And the Ender 3 V2 has been around for quite a while. It was not new then. And they're selling them for $199, and it came up on Coffee and Ham Radio, I think before I was on the show. And everybody in the world on that show bought an Ender 3 V2 for $200. And Don, bless his heart, decided that he wants to print a dice tower as his first print, which was like a 3-day print on the Ender 3 V2 or 5-day or whatever, some long-ass print. But my point of this is that was $199 for, even then, was not a cutting-edge printer and slower than Christmas. And now for $199, you can get something that is damn near fully automated, $199 out the door. And if you want to go $350, you can get the color system for it too. So they've come a long way. I think Bamboo has some trouble their marketing department was not really thinking, or whatever genius came up with that plan. But anyway, I doubt they rat you out to the ATF, and certainly not anymore, because I seriously doubt that the Chinese printer company is going to have a word with the ATF about what you print. And again, don't connect it to the network if that's a concern. So anyway, all right. Do we got anything else we want to rant about today?
I mean, yes, we do, but hit it.
We got to save it for a future show. Guys, thank you for coming, and we will see you next week. Adios. Button engaged.